Bonjour, hello, huyadat, dumela legai, linjani, salibonani, magadi, mulibwanji, mulishani, habari. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuned in from. Thank you again for joining me for this new series of Get to Know Them. These are Ego Wings consultants who we are going to dive into their lives to get to know who they are, apart from their everyday professions and, of course, being speakers. My name is Candy, and I'm your host. So if you joined me last week, the first episode, we were joined by Didier Mbayo, who allowed us to get to know who he was. So today I'm extremely excited because we are getting to know another amazing, phenomenal woman. Her name is Dr. Patricia Shinondo. She is the first pediatric surgeon in Zambia and extremely young. You know, one of those young, I won't disclose her age, that's entirely up to her. But we are going to get to know who this doctor is. So again, thank you very much for joining me. And we're gonna just introduce our amazing speaker. So Dr. Shinondo, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm great.
So you do know that you are the second phenomenal facilitator of the Ego Wings Consultancy team. And this is our second episode. So thank you so much for making it and, and just being a part of this amazing series that we've started. So, like I said, you are the first in your field, you are a doctor, but apart from that, we want to get to know who you are today. So who is Patricia? Who is she?
So yes, again, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. This is wonderful. I'm glad to be part of the team. I'm the first female, I'll put that out there, first female pediatric surgeon in Zambia. It's a bit daunting, just the whole phrase. I always say each time I hear myself say it, it is quite daunting to be a first of anything. I think it draws attention, to self. But apart from that, I'm someone who's constantly trying to grow myself. I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm also an introvert. So I'm very much about myself. I love my space. My space is my comfort zone. So it just takes me an extra minute or two to make the effort and step out of my box. But I'm an introvert. I'm a Christian. I'm a friend, a mother. I have a big village that has brought me to where I am today. So that's a bit of who I am. Yeah.
Loving it. Oh my goodness. I think the first thing that jumped out of me is a doctor who's an introvert. We're going to get to that. We will get to that. But I just want to ask you on the first, is it really daunting? Isn't it something that is exciting that I'm the first, I did this, it is about me? Oh my goodness. Explain why you say it's daunting.
I think just, when I recognized the first female, it was great for the first 10 minutes, maybe, the whole idea, but then the awakening of the truth that in today's age, we're still not taking advantage of certain spheres as women that are available to us. There still isn't maybe opportunity or exposure for young women out there to know what they can be involved in. So it just helped me change my perception of everything. And it gave me a new agenda after the 10th minute of excitement. And then it became, I need to work harder to bring more women with me.
Excellent. Okay, so the next one. So an introvert, a doctor, an introvert, how possible is it? I'm looking at you. They do say don't judge a book by its cover, but forgive me, I'm one of those. I'm going to judge you. You an introvert? Nah, how?
Maybe it's because you know me a little bit off screen, but really I am. It takes me a minute or two, to just breathe past the discomfort, and then I'm fine. And then I'm good, but I am an introvert.
Okay, I'll believe you. If you say that, I'll believe you. But I know a lot of my listeners are thinking, a doctor that's an introvert? Anyway, we'll leave it with you. We'll believe you. So then you spoke about you being a mother and you belonging to a village. I'm so keen on that. How are you juggling, being a doctor, being a mother, and having this village, because you see, being an African, yes, you are always surrounded by a village. It's never about you and your immediate family. It's about this big village. So how do you juggle that?
Absolutely. I do think it takes a village to raise a child, generally. And then I was blessed enough to have an autistic boy. He's high functioning autism on the spectrum. So that presented an extra challenge, for lack of a better word, you know, in that there isn't much resource available. And, you know, autism is still developing. We're all still learning about it. So I definitely needed my village so much more than just for my growth and my path, but, you know, for my son and figuring it all out as we continue to learn about him and learn about his world, you know. So it's been definitely about leaning on my inner circle, leaning on the people I trust and those that are close to me, so that, you know, you can keep doing what you do and leaning on everyone else around you.
Wow. So you being a doctor, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to ask this next question. You being a doctor and with the son that you have, does it make it easier because you've got access to other doctors? Does that, I'm trying to, find out if you doctors do have that upper hand of accessibility to other doctors. So does it help your situation with your son and getting to know, his special need?
Well, I'll answer that twofold. You know, from the personal side of things, I think dealing with a diagnosis in your home as a doctor, one that you're not well versed in, or one that doesn't have much help, you know, where we are, it's been a bit of a personal challenge, you know, so I had to deal with that and then start to actively get help. So yes, we're available among doctors. We try to help, you know, when we can, we call on each other and we help how we can. So that there's been a few avenues that I've tried to reach out to, but, you know, I think we certainly still have a lot of gaps in the special needs sector locally. But slowly it's growing. There's a bit of improvement with time.
Thank you for answering that question. So my next question is, we've talked about you and your village. So now we want to know, what do you like as an introvert? Sorry, I needed to throw that in, but what do you like? What do you do when you're not being doctor? What do you do? What joy brings your way? What do you do?
I like to, apart from spending time with my inner circle and growing spiritually, I like to exercise. So I jog or run. I like to watch movies. So pre-COVID, it was going to the movies, hanging out with friends. So now it's Netflix. Yes, Netflix is our friend. And I read non-medical books, you know. And I do like to still mentor. I still like to find time to make, you know, an impact on the next me.
Lovely. Mentorship. One would think that a doctor doesn't really need mentorship, though I stand to be corrected. So you just spoke about you mentoring. So how is that going? Are you getting approached, or do you identify people to mentor? And my next question also on mentorship, do you have a mentor? Do doctors always feel the need to have mentorships?
I think it's very individual in that the idea to mentor or be mentored it's very personal and individual. So I don't think there's a blanket statement to say doctors all need it, but I think it's about, does the individual choose to do it or have it. So I personally am an advocate of mentorship because I saw a gap in the mentorship in my chapter. You know, I feel had I had some mentorship, active mentorship, it would have helped me jump through a few hurdles faster, you know, and overcome a few barriers. So I'm very deliberate now about meeting someone halfway. When they do approach me, and I have been approached by a few, to mentor, I do, if I do have the time for it. And I do have a mentor myself. I do have a few mentors myself, yeah.
Great, that's great. So the mentors that you have, do you cut across your own country? Because you are from Zambia. I should have mentioned that, I think I did. but do you have mentors within Zambia, or do you just cut across the region or the continent? And the reason why I asked that question is that a lot of people pre-COVID, all of us have been, pushed at a certain level. So people are trying to sort of understand where to get mentors. And sometimes I think people will assume that mentors should be in your immediate space. So how do you identify your mentors? Are they locally, or you stretch across?
I do stretch across. So I have some locally here in Zambia that by way of, networks we're affiliated in, or just random coincidental meetings. I'm very deliberate also about whom I approach to be my mentor. If it's somebody that has a spark or a step ahead in a sphere I'm trying to join, or someone I feel I can learn so much from, then I am deliberate about trying to enter their world. If I can approach them and ask for a few minutes of their time, or even stalk them, so to speak, on social media. I think the internet has a lot of positives in that. Even if we don't know someone, the virtual world has allowed us to follow them on YouTube, and you can learn from them. And even that is a type of mentorship, I feel like. If someone has knowledge gems that they're able to drop online, then we can learn from each other. And then I do have some outside of Zambia internationally as well, that we just arrange quarterly meetings, or every couple of months we get together and chat and catch up.
Wow, I like that. You also spoke about faith. You said you also enjoy to learn spiritually. And I'm gonna ask a couple of questions on that basis. So you spoke about your spiritual growth. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that, how it has helped you, which part of spiritual growth. We won't assume, we want you to tell us which religion, you are, so deep into.
Indeed, I'm a Christian, have been for a long time. We're not going to give age away, so let's just leave it at a long time. I'm a Christian, and so, yeah, God is a big part of my being and my story. So I do make time for that. I'm very deliberate about it, and especially because of my field. It can be very taxing. And so it helps me, it helps to ground me, I think, especially with COVID as well, the uncertainties and the fear, there was general fear and worry that was constantly, surrounding us. It definitely helped me knowing that God was with me, that God is faithful, even in the middle of the chaos, He is there, and he continues to watch over us.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. The next question for me is, you are a speaker, you're a facilitator. When did you realize that you wanted to do that? When did you realize that you wanted to be a speaker? And why speaking?
I'll tell you, I think it's just been, it was just something laid out in my path, I think. I always found that I was placed in positions of service, and I do love to serve, So I find that I have always been required to step out of my introvert box and take up that role. And then I did enjoy it. I also find that it's a way of finding like-minded people like myself in whatever sphere, whether we're talking about pediatric surgery or research or mentorship. I do feel that it helps me grow each time I speak to crowds that think like I do. And so it's a way of personal growth, I find. And it's a great way to network and find like minds, really.
Excellent, excellent. So then you have partnered with Eagle Wings Consultancy. Why the partnership?
Oh, because I think, the agenda of Eagle Wings is fantastic. I am an advocate of Africa telling her own story. I talk about that quite a lot, that research or data is so important, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where it's not ingrained in us to collect our own data, tell our own story. I think time immemorial, we've seen, visitors from outside coming in, and then they tell our story for us. I think we need to now wake up to the fact that we should be telling our own stories, you know? And I like what Eagle Wings is doing. Eagle Wings highlights the riches of Africa in the human resource, the great minds of Africa, and we're showing the world what we have to offer, and we're sharing with the world. You know, Eagle Wings has brought together so many powerhouses, so many amazing speakers and powerful people that have stories to share, you know, and it's great to find them all on one platform. And I think it's an amazing facility. So I was 100% behind the idea, and I was so humbled to even be a part of it.
Great. So then my next question is actually going to be in line with one of the answers that you gave when you spoke about God. So, you know, with COVID, we are all trying to navigate COVID. None of us saw it coming. You know, it was one of those things that crept up on us. And before we could sit down to think, it was already there. So how has your faith and God helped you and your loved ones, you know, just to stay afloat, especially in your field of being a doctor? How have you leveraged on just your faith, on God? How have you, you know, used that now more than ever?
Yeah, for sure. You know, COVID-19 was the story we never saw coming. You know, I think for us medics or healthcare workers or caregivers, it was an awakening to the fact that we aren't superheroes. You know, this one definitely showed our vulnerability. Many other moments in the past, we were never the reason why our families were at risk, you know. But in this pandemic, we were the reason that our families were exposed much higher than other families, because we worked in that setting. So coming back home, there was a constant fear of, are you exposing your loved ones? And so, you know, in other countries that were harder hit than sub-Saharan Africa, caregivers would, you know, quarantine at work, you know, for long periods, or just rent another apartment, stay away from their small kids or their elderly parents. So, but in our own way, we also had to adapt how we worked, how we lived, you know, stay away from, you know, elderly parents as well. Or if you keep them at home, you're really deliberate about when you see them and how you see them. But that was a rude awakening for us as well. And prioritizing our own health as well as healthcare workers is now, you know, on the fore. It's something we're awake to, and it's a story we're telling more and more, especially the mental health aspect. I think that was a big one that COVID-19 highlighted, that the mental health aspect of the caregiver is what was a huge part of the story. Because I think many times we've dealt with so many other illnesses, but this one was, it was just a whole nother ball game. So now, you know, we're highlighting care for the caregiver. We're highlighting how do we take care of ourselves more. So there's been a lot of growth, you know, and we just need to build from what we've learned, I feel.
Okay. So, wow, it's always amazing how time flies by so quickly when you're just enjoying a space with someone. So we've come to that part, you know, where I'll have to say we're about to close. But before we do, of course, I mean, I think the way we have just, you know, brought the show to the end is I'm wanting to find out from you, and I'm sure everybody that's listening in now would like to hear from your side. What advice would you give in terms of just navigating COVID-19? All of us are being told on a daily basis that we need to change. We need to think outside the box. We need to have healthy mental minds. We need to think positively. These are things that we used to hear before, but not as much as we did now. It is really scary now. I think all of us, for the first time in a long time, I think we are all sort of above water. We are trying to say, oh my God, I can breathe, without really trying to panic. But at the same time, there's still a lot that we're trying to understand and to navigate. I believe that COVID is here to stay. It's just a matter of learning how to live with it, learning how to be safe when you have it, or even before you have it. So from your own words to everybody that's listening today, what would you say? What is your advice to them on how to navigate life going forward, you know, in closing?
Yes, I think there's a lot of truth in what you said. It's difficult to imagine a world going back to the way it was. You know, I think in many respects, stuff might not go to the way it was before. So we all have to learn to adapt, or as the famous word these days is, to pivot, you know, in all our different spheres. How do we stay relevant to the time today? You know, how do you keep offering your service, whatever your service is? How do you stay valuable and relevant in today's world? You know, so as pediatric surgeons, we're trying to open up again, to catch up, because in the pandemic phase, we had to put a lot of things on hold. So there's a lot of surgeries we have to catch up with, but we need to do that safely, you know, protecting the clients, protecting ourselves. So it's definitely remembering safety, our own safety, prioritizing our own health. You know, I think all of us have to be deliberate about it, you know, taking care of ourselves, exercising, eating better. I think spending time with our loved ones, because so many lost so many loved ones. And I think valuing our inner circles and showing love to those that are near and dear to us would be a good place to start.
Wow. Thank you so much for today. It's been absolutely amazing. And just for making the time, I really, really appreciate you being here with us today. And I know my listeners who are listening in now, those who tune in later on the social media platforms where we're going to post this, are going to find this of excellent value. So once again, to everybody who tuned in, thank you so much for having made the time. I appreciate it. This was episode 2. We again got into the life of Dr. Patricia Shinondo, an introvert. Can you believe it? But anyway, this is what we are getting to know about who they are. They impact, they teach, they give of themselves every single time when we see them on those platforms, or when we go to see her, in this case, when you need some medical advice. So to all of you, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to get to know more about Dr. Shinondo and how she can just help you in your field, please visit www.ewconsults.com, or you can send an email to info@ewconsults.com. So till next week, when I bring another exciting person that we're going to get to know what they do. And I hope this one will not tell us that they're an introvert. So until next week, thank you so much for joining me. Have a good day, have a lovely evening, have a good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you.